Barrel length. Do you need it or are you just compensating? This week on Mail Call Monday. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Well, you might be asking yourself, why did I empty the gun safe out onto the shop table today? Well, today we're going to talk about barrel length, and this is basically just going to be my ramblings on barrel length and how it applies to a .308 tactical rifle platform. We keep getting tons and tons of questions on barrel length. We've done some stuff on it before, but I'm just going to kind of ramble about my opinion on barrel length this week, so stick with me. Now, what I have sitting out here before me are three different .308 platforms. Now, each of these has a slightly different role, but I'm using them to illustrate the difference in overall package size between barrel length. Now, each of them I have lined up so that the chambers are in line so you can see the actual length of the barrels. The buttstocks on each of these are just slightly different in length, and so the scopes are placed just slightly different in order to get the proper eye relief for each system. Now, the closest to me, this one right here, is a Remington 700 SPSV that's been dropped in a Bell & Carlson stock. It's got some other stuff on it. We've got the old Falcon Menace scope, the 4-14 by 44 mounted on here that you guys keep asking for or asking about. It's still going strong on this platform. Now, I've had this rifle for quite some time. This barrel's probably getting towards the end of its life, but this is an original 26-inch Remington 700 varmint barrel. It's the heaviest weight that Remington offers in their regular lineup, and at the crown to the breech face is 26 inches. So as you look across these, you have to remember that this is a plain muzzle and all the rest of them have some type of muzzle device. So when we talk about the barrel length, we're talking about from the crown to the breech face, not from the end of the muzzle device. Now, 26 inches on this rifle is pretty much overkill. When you're running factory ammunition and you're not running the absolute ragged edge of pressure, you really can't utilize the full length of this barrel. And what we've seen before is shooting this rifle with the 26-inch barrel side by side with a 20-inch rifle with the same twist, 1 in 12 twist, at 900 to 1,000 yards. They both go transonic with something like 168 grain gold medal match at sea level. So you're not getting an advantage from the extra 6 inches of barrel length. Now, when you go up in velocity or you go up in charge weights and you're starting to pack more slower burning powder into the cases, then you may be able to utilize this extra barrel length. So it is greatly going to depend upon what you're doing. But when we drop down to the other end of the spectrum here, this is the Mega Arms Ma 10 with the 16-inch barrel, and again that's 16 inches from breech face to the crown. So you got to remove the brake from the equation. Although it's a very effective brake, I don't know that I want to remove it from the equation. But when you drop down to this now we've gone to the other side of things, and we've gone to a nice compact quick handling rifle, but we've really cut the legs out of factory .308 loadings. When I was shooting 168 grain 168 grain Black Hills Gold out of this rifle, which is 168 grain AMAX load, we were getting around 2,400, 2,300 foot per second, and it was going transonic well before 1,000 yards. And really, when we took it out to Rockcastle, I think we got 3 hits out of 10 at over 1,000 yards on it. So if you're going for a true 1,000-yard rifle, this is not where you want to be. 16 inches is not good. So then we drop back here to the middle, and we come up to the Accuracy International AE Mark II. This has its factory 20-inch .308 barrel on it, again from crown to breech face, not taking into account the brake. It has a rather short brake on it, so it's not adding a ton of length to the overall barrel length. This, in my opinion, is the best place to be for a .308 tactical rifle. You still get a decent amount of velocity. You can still shoot 1,000 yards with this rifle. It's still a handy compact package, especially with the folding stock on it. You can fold this rifle up and fit it in some very small cases, so traveling with it is not a problem. And getting it in and out of the car, going through buildings with it, or through barricades if you're at a competition with it, it really helps you out a considerable amount to have that smaller package. Now, if you're going to shoot F-class or something of that nature, then the 26-inch barrel doesn't hurt you. You're not swinging it around. You're pretty much shooting from a static position. So the extra barrel length doesn't hurt you. And that's really what we have to consider when we're talking about barrel length. Going from the 16 to the 26-inch, you can see that there is a drastic difference in barrel length here. A considerable overall length difference in it. But there are situations where that doesn't matter. If you're just sitting on a firing line, if you're sitting in a tree stand somewhere, if you're just on a regular target range, then a 26-inch barrel doesn't hurt you at all. And at some point in time, should you decide to reload and should you want to stretch the envelope of the .308, really push it out to a mile or something, then the 26-inch barrel gives you more room to experiment with different powders, different projectiles, to try to get the most out of the cartridge. That's freedom that you don't have with the 20 or the 16. As always, and I preach this constantly, take into account what you're doing with the rifles. Take into account what your intended purpose is, how you want to use these, and then decide what sacrifice is acceptable to you. If you're running factory ammunition, 20-inch is a good intermediate. If you really need a compact platform, 16-inch will get it done. If you are shooting 600, 700 yards max, this is the way to go. This rifle is good to go for those ranges. You are not going to really need the extra velocity depending upon what you're shooting. If you're really stretching its legs, and you're really trying to go for long range, you have the ability to hand load and to experiment with a wide range of bullets and powders, then the 26-inch may be your better option, especially if you don't have to worry about threading it through barricades, getting it in and out of cars, all that kind of stuff. Now, let's step back from the velocity aspect of it, and let's attack a rumor that has floated around for quite some time. The old rumor was that longer barrels were more accurate. This is a myth that has been floating around for a very, very long time. Longer barrels were more accurate. I've not been able to determine where that has started, but I would almost bet my paycheck that it goes back to the muzzleloading days when you had these great big long target rifles that needed that extra barrel length, first of all for the velocity to get a flatter shooting rifle, and then second of all to buffer the burn on that powder. With modern sporting rifles, what we've seen is almost the opposite, that shorter barrels tend to be stiffer, tend to have a more consistent harmonic to them, and they tend to be more accurate than longer barrels. When you start hanging suppressors on them, the shorter barrels will have less of a point of impact shift very often. Now again, when you're comparing like barrel profiles, not a super heavy barrel to a skinny barrel. The other side of things is that if you're talking about something like an AMU contour or M40 contour or even a bull barrel, when you start talking about the weight difference between a 26-inch, a 20-inch, and a 16, there's a great big difference in weight between those. So if you're one of those that's worried about weight, you're thinking about fluting your barrel, all this nonsense, you can go to a shorter barrel and lose a lot more weight generally than you can fluting it. So take that into consideration as well. you're not going to lose accuracy. Now, where the confusion comes in is when we're shooting long range. Long range with the different barrel lengths starts to show a little bit of difference there. And we've already discussed that if you're pushing the limits, the 26-inch may be better. The reason that is higher velocity will equate to a flatter trajectory, which flatter trajectory doesn't matter as much to us because we are going to dial in with the scope. If we're shooting targets that we know the distance to, that we've either used a laser rangefinder or milled and dialed in, that's going to be good to go. We can compensate for that very adequately, so the flatter trajectory is not that big of a deal. What is a big deal is more velocity means less time in flight. Less time of flight equates directly to less wind drift. That's less time that the wind has to push your bullet. So what you'll see downrange is a faster shooting cartridge will have less wind drift than a slower shooting cartridge. All else being equal, the 26-inch barrel will exhibit less wind drift at 1,000 yards than the 16-inch barrel. And it's just taken longer for the bullet to get there from the 16-inch barrel because it has a lower muzzle velocity to start with. So when we're talking about long range accuracy, the actual physical accuracy of the rifle system is going to be very equivalent across barrel lengths. The ability for that bullet to cheat the wind is going to favor the longer barrel with the higher muzzle velocity. The flatter trajectory is going to favor the longer barrel with the higher muzzle velocity. And this again comes full circle back to that whole factory ammunition thing. If you're shooting factory ammunition between the 26 and the 20, you're not going to notice that much of a difference. So the wind drift isn't going to be that much of a difference. You're just carting around an extra 6 inches of barrel for no reason whatsoever. Between the 26 and the 16, you're going to see a drastic difference downrange. And in fact, you may be sending that bullet transonic early enough that it's slamming into the target sideways with the 16, where it would still go through stable point first with the 26. So when the guy runs up to you at the range and you're shooting your 16-inch and he tells you, oh, you're not accurate with a 16-inch barrel, you can tell him where to go because you know he's full of it. Now, if you're talking with somebody that actually has some idea of ballistics and they're telling you that you will be better served shooting long range with a longer barrel because you're going to get less wind drift, there may be something to the argument. The trend here over the last few years has been to go to shorter and shorter and shorter barrels. Part of that is because we're intrinsically lazy and we really don't want to carry around any more weight than we need to. A longer barrel is harder to maneuver than a smaller barrel. I'm not going to lie, I like shooting small, compact, long-range rifles. They're just a whole lot more fun to me. But when we really need to stretch the legs, and to be absolutely honest, if you're shooting a 308 at 1,000 rounds, you need all the, or 1,000 yards. If you're shooting a 308 at 1,000 yards, you need all the advantages you can get, so a longer barrel may be in your best interest. But these are just fun. Little shorties at long range are great, if for no other reason than other shooters that have no idea about ballistics will see you shooting a 16 at long range and scratch their heads about why they're not able to do it with their long barrel hunting rifles. So everything has pros and cons, everything has trade-offs. You have to decide what is best for you. And in the end, if you have the means to do so, get them all. That way, like golf clubs in a bag, you can select what the best rifle is for the given situation. Well, that's all we have for this Mail Call Mondays. I hope you have kept you entertained and I haven't bored you too much. I know that this was kind of long-winded to ramble on about one thing, but we get tons of questions on it. I know this probably will not stop the questions. We will probably continue to get barrel length questions, but it is what it is. I hope you've liked the video. If you have, please remember to share, like, and subscribe. Please share our videos far and wide. Those of you guys that are on Reddit, we'd really like to get some extra exposure over there. So if you are there, please make sure you post up some links to some of our videos in the guns forum and the long range forum. I try to not pimp our own stuff across a bunch of different forums. Some forums just really don't like that kind of thing, so I need help from you guys to share our stuff out. If you find a video interesting and you think other guys would benefit from it, please post a link up over there so they can see what we're doing and they have a chance to like and subscribe to our videos. That's it for this week. Until next time, get out and shoot. You guys are still there? Okay, well, real quick, I want to comment on the state of ammunition here lately. While reloading components are still kind of scarce, they're starting to filter back in. We're able to get our hands on some powder and some bullets every now and again. The loaded ammunition situation seems to be getting much better. I just rolled into Gander Mountain this morning before we started filming and grabbed a 100-round value pack of American Eagle 223. We're getting ready to test some AR optics. We've got the Bushnell AR optic 1 to 4 power in, and I'm going to do some close range, some quick shooting, and we're going to test the BDC with just regular store-bought 55 grain ammo. So I didn't want to use our nice hand loads and risk losing them in the cases or losing them in the grass when we're moving and shooting. So grab some Plinkin ammo. It was nice to see that this stuff was not ridiculously expensive. We're still talking about 60 to 70 cents a round, which is not cheap. But the nice thing, it was available. They had 1,000-round bulk packs on the shelf there for $5.99. So we're getting back into ammo availability. Don't expect ammo prices to come back down to where they were pre-madness. It just isn't going to happen. It doesn't favor the economics. The cost of the components are still going up. The cost of the raw materials are going up. And we've proven that we'll suck it up and we'll pay expensive prices for ammunition. So there's no reason for manufacturers to reduce the costs on ammo. I just want to see supply get back to the point where we can lay in ammo stores again and we can go shooting whenever we want. But that situation appears to be getting better. They had 9mm and 45 Winchester white box on the shelf, like totally stocked up on the shelf, not just 1 or 2 boxes. So I'm feeling real good about being able to go and grab ammunition on the way to the range again. So we're good to go there. One other thing, real quick. Reach behind me here without falling off the chair. Just picked this up from the post office today, not the whole rifle, just the forend. This is the new Intrepid handguard from SLR Rifle Works. Now, as you see, this rifle's kind of missing something here. I just threw this together to get a feel for how the handguard feels. We are going to be doing a full review on the SLR Rifle Works Intrepid handguard here soon, but I wanted to give you guys a real quick first look at it. Really nice handguard, really well machined. The Picatinny rails look really sweet, and it does have a key mod section down here through the middle, so you get the best of both worlds. You get Picatinny rail top and bottom, you get these short little rails up front, and then a key mod to allow you to add whatever kind of rail system or accessories you want along the sides. It has anti-rotation tabs here, and it is very simple to install, quick on, quick off. So when we get our midway order in here in a couple of days, we'll go in and we'll put this rifle together and show you how the SLR Rifle Works forend, can't speak today, how it installs and how it goes together and how well it works. But it lines up perfectly with the receiver rail, and it is really a nice looking piece. So we'll let you know what's going on there. They also were kind enough to send us one of their new nickel boron adjustable gas blocks, so we'll be putting that on when the barrel comes in as well, and give you guys a little bit closer look on that. This is the next generation of adjustable gas block from the one that we put on the Ma 10 here. The one that we installed on the Ma 10 works great, but it installs with set screws through the bottom. The new nickel boron version has a crossbolt clamp style option. So, you know, it's a really good option if you don't have dimples in your barrel for set screws, or you just don't want to mess with the whole set screw thing. So we'll be installing that, and we'll be talking to you about the benefits on that. So stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming up. We got a busy week here. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good videos out to you.